A growing chorus of Democrats are denouncing Congressman Eric Swalwell this weekend after CNN reported that 4 women made accusations of sexual misconduct against him. Those accusations range from inappropriate messages and pictures to unwanted kissing and touching, and in one case, rape. Here's Swalwell's response.
These allegations of sexual assault are flat false. They are absolutely false. They did not happen. They have never happened. And I will fight them with everything that I have. I have certainly made mistakes in judgment in my past. But those mistakes are between me and my wife. And to her, I apologize deeply for putting her in this position.
And my panel is here now, including a sitting Democratic Congressman, Eugene Vindman. What do you think should happen this week? Should the congressman resign? And if not, would you vote to expel him?
Yeah, we need to be crystal clear on this. The accusations are absolutely heinous, and his admissions betraying his family are deplorable. So Eric Swalwell needs to resign. He needs to drop out of the race. And we have grown far too accustomed to having our senior leaders, our elected officials, fall far below what we expect their behavior to be morally, ethically. And so whether you're the President of the United States, whether you're a representative, we should not tolerate this behavior, and Representative Swalwell needs to go.
And just to be clear, because he's also running for California governor, you're saying that he should not only drop out of that race, but he should resign his seat in Congress?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the leadership didn't quite go that far of your party in the House. Here's what they said. Following the incredibly disturbing sexual assault accusations against Congressman Eric Swalwell, we call for a swift investigation into these incidents and for the congressman to immediately end his campaign to be California's next governor. This is unacceptable of anyone, certainly not an elected official, and must be taken seriously.
Yeah, the first thing, as the congressman said a minute ago, is you think about the family, you think about the victims, you got to be responsible and respectful to them as a Democratic caucus. There are things you can do short of resignation, because the question is, should someone be punished to get the punishment for something they haven't been convicted of? But you can take him off of committees. You can make sure that he's not running. You can, any funding that you were giving from any organizations, take that away. The people who are, I think, leading his campaign organization are all stepping down. And then the congressman has to decide whether or not he needs to be focused on his family and his reputation and his legal case. And that probably means that he can't do that and represent the people of California very well.
But a lot of this, needle threading that's going on around this, it's very bad. Let's take him off committees, but maybe not resign. I mean, think about just not too long ago in our politics, this would have been instantaneous, career ending, you're gone. And it's precisely because we live in these weirdly, very narrowly divided times that right now Democratic leadership, they don't want to lose a vote in a House that is as narrow as it is. And I don't just want this to be like a partisan, I'm throwing a bomb, I'm going after Democrats, because right now Republicans are in that same situation too. They have Representative Tony Gonzalez, who's also facing, really horrible allegations. No side wants to give an inch to decency when things feel so tight, so fraught, and they feel like, well, the other side wouldn't do it, so why should I?
Well, the Democrats have to be strong, though. They have to be strong and sort of let everybody know where they stand on this, that it's unacceptable.
I hope they will.
Yeah, the question is, what is the punishment?
Let me just say one thing. There's a move that we'll probably see this week to not only, if Swalwell doesn't quit, to remove both Swalwell and Republican Congressman Tony.
So Congresswoman Luna is going to have a motion, a privileged motion, going to get an up-down vote. So everyone's going to be on record whether you support or not. I applaud the congressman's clarity on this issue, and they're going to get Republicans are going to be on record, and Democrats are going to be on record. Do you tolerate this kind of behavior? Should this be acceptable kind of behavior? And in both cases, the answer should be no. Both in Congressman Gonzalez's case and in Congressman Swalwell's case, it should not be acceptable. Congressman Swalwell is looking at being prosecuted. The Manhattan District Attorney is investigating him. They're asking for people to come forward with information. He's going to face criminal charges, most likely, in that case. And so, to the congressman at Kristen's point, I hope that this vote occurs and that both Republicans and Democrats are on record and that they strongly denounce and speak forcefully against this kind of behavior.
And what we need to have is actually some moral clarity on this point. I think for years now, we have grown far too accustomed to expecting our elected officials to fall far below where we expect them to be moral and ethical grounds, whether you're trading stocks, insider trading, or whether, frankly, you're accused of and convicted of felonies and you're still elected to the highest office in the land. These behaviors are not acceptable. We have to establish a floor for what we expect of our elections.
It's kind of a bare minimum, right? It shouldn't even be the floor. Yeah. But there should be a thing where it's like, you're disqualified if you do those things. The fact that we're talking about insider
Well, this is interesting
trading,
coming from Republicans. I have to say, this is interesting.
No, but I'm saying
wait. This is interesting coming from Republicans who have tolerated the most heinous crimes that have been accused of the President of the United States. And you've let him get away with it. Yeah. I mean, like, he has convictions in New York State for sexual assault in civil cases. He has women who have come out publicly and said that he's done things to them that they don't like.
I just want to be on the record.
Let's be a little clear, okay? It's a civil case, not a conviction. Civil case in a jurisdiction where 90% of the
found liable. It's found liable.
90% of the jury pool. If I took you to the most Republican district in America, I could find a Democrat liable. Listen, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is a choir boy. I'm not making apologies.
David, I'm sorry.
But you're not taking him seriously. You're not holding him to the same standard that you're holding
Democrats to. Include the Epstein files here. Be serious.
What about the Epstein files? Let's go on for a second.
You know what?
Because the president has dumped the Epstein files.
What I'm arguing is Democrats should hold Swalwell
files that are still being withheld. The accusations are heinous.
I am for
we have to have
transparency.
One uniform standard.
I'm for complete
everybody.
transparency.
Democrats should hold Swalwell to a very high standard and should basically send him out on. They should send him out on an island by himself, and so he doesn't have any more power in the United States Congress.
So Jamal,
the question though is, are you going
to be resign?
Are you going to call for resign? He might. No, I said
you
he
didn't
might
call for him to be convicted.
He might
get out of there.
He might have to resign. He might also need to be convicted in the ethics process. The question though is, are the Republicans
going to hold? If you were a congressman, would you vote to bounce him?
I probably would, because he doesn't hold up to my standards. He doesn't hold up to my standards.
It's a yes or no.
Listen, he doesn't hold up to my standards.
I'm just answer the question. It's easy one.
You answer the question about at what point are you going to say? Are you going to say that Donald Trump needs to hold himself, the Republicans hold himself to to the same standards? For what?
For what?
For the Eugene Carroll case. For the fact that he looks like he's in the middle of in the Epstein imbroglio, that he's in the middle of.
He's not involved in none of that. None of that. I'm asking you again, just for clarity, because we know where the Congress stands, we know where she stands. We don't know where you stand.
I just told you where I stand.
Would you vote?
I would probably vote for him. I haven't seen all the evidence, but I would probably vote for him based on what it is.
That's a cop out.
No, based on what it is that I know.
Cop out.
Based on what it is that I know, I would probably vote for him leaving. The question, though, is for the Democrats, in lieu of him leaving until that process has run its course, they should put him on an island where he can't have any more power in the United States.
I appreciate this very passionate, heated debate among the men, but we do have a woman at the table who probably has a very strong opinion about this.
Disgusting men in politics are not a new thing, but I would love to think we could move to a future where they become a vanishingly rare thing. It's unfortunate that it feels like we haven't moved in that direction very much.
Well said.